Hello again. We're still here. We don't have the plague yet, and we hope you can say the same at your house. You know, this is a song that we don't do much anymore. I like to sing songs that we don't do much anymore because I'm afraid we'll forget them. And most of the new hymn books, you don't find this song. You got to go back a few editions. It goes like this. King of my life, I crown thee now. Thine shall the glory be. Lest I forget thy thorn-crowned brow, lead me to Calvary. Lest I forget Gethsemane, lest I forget thine agony, lest I forget thy love for me, lead me to Calvary. May I be willing, Lord, to bear daily my cross for thee, even thy cup of grief to share, thou hast borne all for me. Lest I forget Gethsemane, lest I forget thine agony, lest I forget thy love for me, lead me to Calvary, lead me to Calvary. Hallelujah. Be in the Gospel of John. Again, we've been going back there several times. If you notice, I'm not wearing my cowboy shirt tonight because it's 80 degrees and I refuse to turn on the air conditioner because it's going to be 40 in a couple of days. Ha! So I'm wearing my tie-dye. My wife has made us tie-dye shirts for years and years, and I love to wear them in the summertime. Aren't they colorful? Anyway, we're going to be in John chapter 4. And a few days ago, I talked about the Good Samaritan. And we're going to talk about a trip to Samaria. It begins in chapter 4. In verse 1, it said, "When therefore the Lord knew how the Pharisees had heard that Jesus made and baptized more disciples than John, though Jesus himself baptized not, but his disciples, he left Judea and departed again into Galilee, and he must needs go through Samaria." Now remember, there was like a huge tension between the Jews and the Samaritans. The Jews hated the Samaritans. As a matter of fact, a religious Jew, if he was going to Galilee, he would go all the way from Jerusalem to Jericho, cross over the river into Syria, go up past Samaria until he could cross back into Galilee and not have to go through Samaria. So why did he need to go through Samaria? Well, we're going to find out in just a minute. "Then cometh he to a city of Samaria, which is called Sychar, near to the parcel of ground that Jacob gave to his son Joseph. Now Jacob's well was there. Jesus, therefore, being wearied with his journey, sat thus on the well, and it was about the 6th hour. And there cometh a woman of Samaria to draw water. Jesus saith unto her, Give me to drink. For his disciples were gone away unto the city to buy meat. You see, in that little town, they didn't have a KFC. And in order to find something to eat, they had to spread out and go around and see what was open. I'm not exactly sure what they could find. Maybe a Church's or a Whataburger or something. I just don't know. But they had to go find something to eat because the master would be hungry. Did I mention it's the 6th hour? That's noon. Now, if you're from Texas, that means it's dinner time. So, anyhow, his disciples were gone away unto the city to buy meat. Then saith the woman of Samaria unto him, How is it that thou, being a Jew, askest drink of me, which am a woman of Samaria? For the Jews have no dealings with the Samaritans. She's pointing out to him that she is an unspeakable and untouchable and unmentionable, that he shouldn't be talking to her because she's a Samaritan. And if you knew the culture of the day, it would be pretty weird to have a woman by herself talking to a man in the town square where the well was at high noon. Did I mention that it was noon? Did I mention that it was dinner time, that it was the 6th hour? It's the heat of the day. You don't go to the well to get water at noon. If you've ever lived in the country and had to haul water, you know this is true. You get up and you go before the sun is high. Matter of fact, you go at the dawn and you go to fetch the water because you're going to have to fetch some for breakfast anyway. And you go and you fetch the water before it gets hot. And you might go and fetch more water right around sundown. You don't go in the middle of the day because it's too hot. And it was especially hot there in the middle of that desert place. So, why was this woman at the well at high noon? And why was she by herself? It's a bigger question than what was Jesus doing talking to a Samaritan. And Jesus answered and said unto her, If thou knewest the gift of God, and who it is that saith to thee, Give me to drink, thou wouldest have asked of him, and he would have given thee living water. The woman saith unto him, Sir, thou hast nothing to draw with, and the well is deep. From whence then hast thou that living water? He gets her interest. He just asked her for a drink, so how was he going to give her water? He didn't have a bucket, he didn't have a ladle, he didn't, what was he going to draw the water with? Art thou greater than our father Jacob, which gave us the well, and drank thereof himself, and his children, and his cattle? And she goes, what makes you think that you can get water out of this well when you don't have anything to draw with? Are you going to do some kind of magic trick or perform a miracle? Are you as good as our father Jacob? And Jesus answered and said unto her, Whosoever drinketh of this water. Maybe they dug it too. Whosoever drinketh of this water shall thirst again, but whosoever drinketh of the water that I shall give him shall never thirst. But the water that I shall give him shall be in him a well of water springing up into everlasting life. The woman saith unto him, Sir, give me this water, that I thirst not, neither come hither to draw. She shows her need. Do you think she wants to come to the well at noon, at high noon, when it's too hot, when nobody else would come? You have to ask yourself why she didn't go to the well when all the other women went to the well in the cool of the day. We're going to get there, I promise. I haven't left you hanging yet. Jesus saith unto her, Go, call thy husband, and come hither. And now we're going to get to the crux of the problem here. The woman answered and said, I have no husband. And Jesus said unto her, Thou hast well said, I have no husband. For thou hast had 5 husbands, and he whom thou now hast is not thy husband. And that thou saidest truly. You know, Jesus looks at her, he saw her need, she expressed her need, and then he cuts right to the heart of the matter. Go call your husband. And she says, I don't have a husband. And he says, well, that's true, daughter. Oh, how he loved her at this moment. He's wanting to give her living water. And he's meeting her right where she is, out there at that well by herself. And he comes right to the heart of the problem. And he says, you know, you've had 5 husbands, and the one you're with right now is not your husband. Maybe it's somebody else's husband that she'd run off with. And now we know why she has to come to the well at high noon. Because the women of the town would not have anything to do with her. Because in their mind she was a floozy. She was the town tramp. Ha! That's why she didn't go to the well with the other women in the cool of the day, because they wouldn't have anything to do with her. That's why she had to go by herself when nobody was there, because nobody in their right mind was going to be out there at the well at high noon. Then after he says that you spoke in the truth, you don't, the one you have now isn't your husband. The woman saith unto him, Sir, I perceive that thou art a prophet. Have you ever noticed when you're visiting with somebody, Christian worker, and you point out that that horrible thing, sin, and it's especially horrible when it's in my life, right? And you happen to point it out, the first thing they want to do is talk about religion. Sir, I believe that thou art a prophet. Yeah. They want to start discussing the Bible. They don't want to talk about their sin. I don't blame them. I don't like talking about my sin either. They'll ask you, where did Cain get his wife? And were there dinosaurs on the ark? And every other kind of weird question you can think of. There are answers to those things, but it's not the time to give those answers, because the main problem is I'm a sinner in need of a Savior, and I'm going to hide from that just as long as I can. But she wants to talk religion. I believe you're a prophet, and our fathers worshipped in this mountain, and you say that in Jerusalem is the place where men ought to worship. They're starting a big argument. You know, 900 and something years before this moment, there was a split in Israel, and Israel became the northern kingdom, and Judah became the southern kingdom, and they worshipped in Samaria. Samaria was the capital of the northern kingdom. And they had altars at Dan and at Bethel, where they worshiped golden calves and worshiped Baal and the gods of the people who were there before God ran them out. Totally given to idolatry. But the argument still lingers. You see, the first thing that a person who don't want to admit their own sin is to start arguing about which church you ought to go to. It's really funny right now because nobody's going to church. They're all shut down. Gives you time to think about it, doesn't it? She says, Jesus saith unto her, Woman, believe me, the hour cometh when ye shall neither in this mountain nor yet in Jerusalem worship the Father. Ye worship ye know not what. We know what we worship, for salvation is of the Jews. But the hour cometh, and now is, when the true worshipers shall worship the Father in spirit and in truth. For the Father seeketh such to worship him. See, God is looking for you. We see all these people who say they're seekers. Well, nobody is really seeking for God. What they're really seeking for is some religion that they can fit in and feel good about it and not have to obey God. But God is always seeking us. He is drawing us with cords of love. In the garden, when Adam and Eve sinned, did they go looking for God? No, they were hiding in the bushes. And God said, Adam, where art thou? He's been looking for us ever since. And he doesn't stop. because Jesus Christ came into this world to seek and to save that which was lost. God is seeking such to worship him. God is a spirit, and they that worship him must worship in spirit and in truth. The woman said unto him, I know that Messiah comes, which is called Christ, and when he comes, he'll tell us all things. And Jesus said unto her, I that speak unto thee am he. People say, and we're getting close, it's getting close to Easter, there'll be a lot of documentaries on TV, and they'll say that Jesus never claimed to be Christ. He never claimed to be the Messiah. He never claimed to be the Son of God. Well, he did multiple times, and this is one of them. She said, I'm waiting for the Messiah. He said, baby, I'm him. I'm right here. Here I am. I can cash your ticket. And upon this came his disciples and marveled that he talked with the woman, yet nobody said, What seekest thou, or why talkest thou with her? And the woman went her way, and she went to the men. Why did she go to the men? Again, because the women wouldn't have anything to do with her. And she says, Come see a man which told me all things that ever I did. Is not this the Christ? And then they went out of the city and they came unto him. You know, Christ revealed himself to her. She believed on him, and the first thing she did was she ran and she told everybody she knew. I would that all God's children would run and tell everybody they know. It's a start, because then they'll go tell everybody they know. I could just see this scene. This poor daughter who'd been so misused in her life, who was so ashamed of her sin that she had to go at high noon to get water. She runs and tells the men, all the men in that town. And with her reputation of having 5 husbands and then having a husband now who's not really her husband but somebody else's husband, I imagine she'd had something to do with some of those men. I mean, the odds are huge, seeing that it was not a small place, you know, and you know, you didn't have trains, planes, and automobiles to carry you around. You pretty much stayed where you were put. I can just see the picture. She goes and tells those men, and they're coming out of their shops and out of their yards and the places where they're working. They're going down the road following her. And I can just see the women looking out the window, and they're maybe doing the dishes. They're throwing down that dish rag, and they're running down the street after their men, saying, Here comes that floozy again, and she's leading our men off down to somewhere. We're going to go find out what's going on. I'm sure there were 2 or 3 that said, not on my watch. I'm going to go get my old man and bring him home. What happens is when they get all down there, that Jesus preaches to them. And it says, many of the Samaritans of that city believed on him for the saying of the woman, which testified, He told me all that I ever did. See, she admitted her sin. He told her what had happened, why her life was messed up. And she said, You're right. And do you know that that's all confession is? That's the only thing confession is where we tell God that He's right and we're wrong. And we're willing to let Him fix it. You know, this is a special story to me, because this story, I happened to get saved while I was hearing this story. I was 12 years old. It's at Little York Baptist Church in Houston, Texas, on the north side, of course. And some of you may remember, some of you may have been there. I bet Pam Carter was there because Pam's mother played the piano at the church. She was playing it that morning too. It was in the assembly after Vacation Bible School. It was the summer between 6th and 7th grade, my last year at Barrack and my first year at Patrick Henry. Valerie Woodhead may have been there too, because she used to come to Little York Baptist Church a lot. And I remember that I got saved that morning while the preacher was telling the story of the woman at the well. And I knew this story. I'd heard it in Sunday school. I'd heard it a lot of times. I'd colored pictures about it. We'd talked about it. But this morning it was different. Because old Brother Roach, his name was Brother James Ray Roach. I understood later that he went to be the pastor for years and years at the Kingwood First Baptist Church there north of Houston. And he was our pastor, and when I got saved, when Jesus called me, I went running down the aisle and I threw myself down in front of the old Brother Roach, and he led me to Christ up there while they played the nail-scarred hand. And it was the story about the woman at the well. And what really got me going was I thought I knew that story. I thought I knew everything. But he said, he said that at one time we were all the woman at the well. And I understood what he meant. That I had not been a loose woman or an adulterer or nothing. I was just 12 years old. But I realized that I was a sinner and that I needed a Savior. And I knew that if I crossed those double railroad tracks there at Hardy Road on my way back home and I got run over by a freight train, that I'd go to hell because I didn't know the Lord. I understood all of that morning. So I gave my life to Jesus. I'd like to say that I lived for him from then on, but that's not true. But that morning, that morning, I never will forget that. I never will forget it. I was thinking right before I got saved, I was wondering what we were going to eat. Because the church ladies, they fixed all these nice sandwiches and they cut them in triangles. And I trimmed the crust off. And they'd have things like tuna salad and pimento cheese. And I was excited for two reasons. The church was air conditioned, and I was eager to eat anything that wasn't fried in bacon grease. And if you grew up on the north side of Houston, you knew that everything was fried in bacon grease. I ran out of there after I got saved. I ran all the way home, left my bike at the church. Daddy had to drive me back up to the church when he got home from work and took my bike home in the back of the truck. But he wasn't upset. And they were playing the nail-scarred hand. I can still remember him playing it. Because what had got me was he said we were all the woman at the well. And the nail-scarred hand doesn't have anything to do with the woman at the well, but it's what was playing that morning when Jesus saved me. Scarred hand, put your hand in the nail-scarred hand. He will keep to the end. He's your dearest friend. Place your hand in the nail-scarred hand. Have you placed your hand in the nail-scarred hand? The woman at the well did. I'll see her in heaven. If you haven't put your hand in his hand, You need to do it right now. God bless you.